Good morning, everyone. I'm Kourtny Garrett, President and CEO of Downtown Dallas, Inc., and welcome to another episode of State of Downtown. I'm so thrilled you all are joining us this morning. Over the course of this series, we've heard from some remarkable change makers in downtown. People like Ray Washburn, Sean Todd, Sarah Terry, Amy Meadows, Michelle Brockwell, Larry Daniels, and John Zog. And all of those are posted on our YouTube page in case you missed an episode. Be sure and check all of those out to learn all of the latest and greatest of what's happening in downtown Dallas. Now today, we're here with Jim Wilson, partner at Goddard Investment Group, to learn more about Fountain Place Tower. Now, this office building has been an icon, one of the most recognizable in the downtown skyline since the 1980s. And AMLI Fountain Place, its sister residential tower, is now open. I can't wait to talk to Jim more about this project. We'll also talk about the entire district's development with Jim, why Goddard believes in downtown Dallas, and how this gateway to downtown is transforming the Field Street corridor. Now, we're back again at the Market Scale Studios here in downtown Dallas, and I am so grateful to the Market Scale team for all that they have lent this series. So it is my pleasure to tee up a video to tell you a little bit more about their company and what they can do for you. So please stay tuned to Market Scale in 60 seconds.
You know how it's harder than ever to reach prospects in B2B? Nobody picks up the phone, trade shows are canceled, and travel for meetings is more challenging than ever before. So how can B2B marketers still make things happen? By building their own media channels. MarketScale helps B2B companies start their own podcasts and host their own virtual events so they can continue to grow. Our team works directly with B2B companies to build and deliver the podcasts, videos, and live broadcasts you see every time you visit LinkedIn. And we don't just create the content, we guide your team to become the rock stars, giving them the megaphone to educate your audience. MarketScale helps world leaders in B2B build their own marketing channels, saving them time, saving them money, and helping them build a stronger business. Your next big marketing campaign isn't an ad, it isn't a trade show, it isn't travel. It's digital transformation with MarketScale. It's time to scale up.
Now, this program is being recorded and it will be available after the event, again, on our YouTube page, and we'll email a link out to those who are registered directly so you can forward it on as well. Now, I want to take a moment just to remind you what DDI can and does do for you every day. 2020 has certainly been a year that no one expected, but we remain committed to our mission to keeping downtown moving forward. First and foremost, our field teams are out on the street 7 days a week, carrying out our first priority, a clean and safe downtown. Our DDI security team is at its highest staffing levels to date. We've invested in additional off-duty Dallas police officers to be out patrolling with our teams, and we're grateful for DPD's commitment to special initiatives throughout the downtown area. And our clean team has grown too. We're now taking on more than ever sanitization efforts, as well as additional maintenance in our parks as we bring more green space online in the downtown. And our homeless outreach team is on track to do over 5,000 hours of outreach this year. It's truly remarkable. They're facilitating connections for individuals to services like job placement, recovery programs, and shelters. And just this month alone, they've made over 35 connections for individuals experiencing homelessness in our streets to shelters and recovery programs. All of these teams can be reached by using our dispatch number or using the CSay Now app that's available to download on Apple or Android devices. Aligned with our additional priorities, since June 1st, we have awarded over $90,000 in grants to small businesses through our storefront restoration improvement program. And we're working with several of our merchants to create pop-up patio space for additional dining. We're supporting the commercial real estate industry with valuable market information, and we're gearing up to relaunch our corporate recruitment campaign, Downtown Dallas Now, to showcase downtown Dallas on a national platform for business attraction. and always remaining attuned to the strategies and the actions of the 360 plan. And as the voice for downtown, we are advancing initiatives with the City of Dallas and other agencies like DART, the North Texas Central Council of Governments, and TxDOTs related to housing, transportation, mobility, and economic development. And finally, we have reaffirmed our commitment to building a downtown for all, elevating our goals for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusivity. Now, the goal of this series is to take an in-depth look at the downtown Dallas economy, COVID market impacts, and how we can all work together to advance the heart of our city. Now, why is this so important? The stability and success of downtown Dallas is absolutely critical to the economic and social health of our entire city. Downtown remains one of the region's largest employers, and our residential population continues to be the fastest growing population in the city year over year. Our hotels bring in 41% of the city's hotel revenue, and downtown is the center point of our regional transportation system, connecting north, south, east, and west. Now, the challenges that we've experienced in downtown Dallas recently are no different than any other city in the country. But what is unique is the fact that we are poised to emerge from this even stronger. Our residential occupancy continues to be above 90%. Employees are beginning to slowly and safely return to the office. $4 billion of development is still on track. And just at the end of August, we opened our first Dallas ISD elementary school in downtown, Ida B. Wells Montessori. New parks like West End Square and Carpenter Park are moving forward, and 13 new restaurants have opened in downtown this year alone. That makes over 290 restaurants, shops, museums, and service-based businesses that are open in downtown Dallas today. Performance programming is coming back to the Dallas Arts District, and fitness classes are happening throughout downtown. The Dallas Farmers Market calendar is full, and Clyde Warren Park recently announced an $8 million donation from Jacobs to their expansion. Our hotels are reporting month-over-month occupancy increases, and through the third quarter of 2020, 89 office leases have been signed in downtown, bringing us to over 600,000 square feet of signed leases in downtown. Now, there's no better way to tell the true story of downtown Dallas and our forward momentum than to talk to the individuals who are invested in committing to moving us forward. So today, it's my pleasure to be sharing the screen with Jim Wilson with Goddard Investment Group. Jim has been a principal with Goddard Investment for over 20 years, where he has found opportunities for office investments in Dallas, Denver, Miami, and Washington, D.C. His primary responsibility is to help build the team that sets the vision for transforming older properties into exciting and relevant projects that contribute back to the cities in which they sit. I think that's very true of what we're going to talk about today. Designed by IMPay and Harry Cobb of IMPay Partners, Fountain Place was originally constructed in 1986. And with Goddard Group's acquisition in 2014, Jim led a $70 million renovation, making it competitive with any new construction Class A+ project in the country. Not to mention establishing the partnership with AMLI to fulfill the original vision for 2 towers on this site. And that second tower was just topped off earlier this year. Prior to joining Goddard, Jim was a partner in the development of Castle Pines, a several thousand-acre mixed-use development between Denver and Colorado Springs. But coming back to his roots in Dallas, in the 1980s, Jim was president of the nationwide investment firm Albritton Development. His first office project was 5956 Sherry Lane. Jim, I can't wait to talk about that. A project that at its time set the standard for Class A development in Preston Center. Now, closer to home here in downtown, Jim is co-chair of the board of City Lab Advisory Council, City Lab High School right here in downtown Dallas, and serves on the Dallas Arts District Connect Infrastructure Committee. And I'm proud to say Jim also serves on our board of directors. So Jim, good morning. Thank you for being here with us. How are you today?
Hi, Kourtny. Thank you so much. It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, let's just start with getting to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about your background, why you came to Dallas, how you came into this role, a little bit beyond the bio, and why you love downtown.
Well, Kourtny, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I went to school in Virginia. I practiced law briefly in Atlanta, married a Texas girl, and quickly came here. In 1981, I started a real estate development firm with my brother-in-law. Our first two office projects were in Preston Center, one of which you graciously complimented. Those projects worked so well for us that we tried to find markets across the southern United States that we could replicate similar attributes to Preston Center. So in Atlanta, we tried to find an office site near Buckhead. In Tampa, we went to West Shore. In Houston, we went as close to River Oaks as we could. And that business model worked really well for us. We built about 2.5 million square feet of what we call downtown quality buildings in the suburban locations nearest the nicest residential neighborhoods. In the late 80s, we had a massive recession in the real estate business across the South. I learned a lot about restructuring difficult deals, initially my own, and then I found I was pretty good at working on them. So I started doing that for other folks. That led me to my partnership with Bob Goddard. Bob's background was originally the brokerage business in Atlanta, and beginning in the late 1990s, he started investing in properties. When I started business with him in 2000, he had already branched out into Houston and was looking to move into other markets, many of which my development company had offices in. So he came to me about helping him expand the footprint of Goddard Investments, and it's been a wonderful 20-year ride. We've owned buildings, as you said, in the cities you mentioned, in addition to Atlanta and Houston, that were there before I got started. And it's been a great experience. We generally buy older office buildings, not unlike Fountain Place, that are in need of repair. And we aggressively renovate and reposition those to try to energize them and make them relevant in today's marketplace.
Tell us a little bit more. I mean, Fountain Place obviously has a lot of history, a great story, an IMP building. Tell us a little bit more about the building and its historic significance, and then why you all decided to make that acquisition, because I think, to your point, this affinity for complex deals may have been a part of it.
We had owned the St. Paul Place building further east on Ross Avenue, where D Magazine's headquarters are, for about 10 years. And we had seen the hard work that you and organizations like DDI had been doing downtown and had been taking ground in terms of improving the conditions there. When the Clyde Warren Park was built, we saw a dramatic shift where the rental rates that they were achieving in Uptown started coming across the park down into the northern parts of downtown. So when Fountain Place came on the market, it had always been one of my favorite pieces of architecture. In the 1980s, I was fortunate enough to do a project with Mr. Pei. And every time I went to New York to work on my project, I was drawn to the models and the renderings of this project in Dallas that he was doing at the same time he was doing mine. And to think that 30 years later, I could get to be a part of the team to renovate and reposition Fountain Place would have just been beyond my imagination. It's been so fun to work on it. What attracted us to Fountain Place initially was the iconic, recognizable piece of architecture, but also the fact that we saw an opportunity to complete the original vision and to renovate the building and activate the site in a way that hadn't been, to make it more relevant in today's market. As we started to push back and study the acquisition, we realized that the surface parking lots that were surrounding Fountain Place were no longer owned by parking companies, but they were owned by some of the wealthiest investors in Dallas. The Perot family in Hillwood to our north, the Hunts, the Headingtons, the Jonas Wood now with the Dundon family investing with him across the street. So what we were excited about was not only the opportunity to transform the 5 acres that came with Fountain Place, completing the original vision for building out the property, but also we were really excited about what was going to happen in our neighborhood, really making it something that could be extraordinary.
Well, and I know part of your vision is to bring more to the neighborhood. So is there anything on the retail and restaurant front that you can share?
Well, part of our renovation was to redo the lobby. We hired Jamie Carpenter, a world famous architect who is known so well for his ability to take light and glass and transform an interior structure. And we removed the mezzanine that had always kind of made the lobby in Fountain Place feel stunted. Actually, it wasn't part of the original design. It was something that had been put in as an afterthought to satisfy the requirements of the initial bank tenant that was in the building. By removing the lobby and putting solid pieces of glass without steel supports, we really opened up the visual so that when you're standing in the lobbies, you almost feel like you're a part of the fountains. And that was something that was originally very important to IM and to Harry Cobb and to Dan Kiley, the three design geniuses that worked on the project. But we also knew we needed to do more than just renovate the lobby and bring in the kind of amenities that people expect today. We took the old Avante restaurant space, which was a dark space, and transformed it into a world-class conference center and health and tenant lounge. We added a fitness facility that is the nicest one I've ever been in. But again, we knew we needed to do more. Part of that equation was adding the residential tower. We knew that would give life to the site and create opportunities to energize the property. We built a parking deck that would allow us to compete with Uptown in terms of the parking ratios that we could offer tenants. But we also still knew we needed more. And so the two elements that we haven't completed yet that are on the drawing boards are to add restaurant space to the ground floor of the parking garage, which will open out onto the fountains, and then to add a hotel on the final development site between the parking garage and Ross Avenue. Both of those projects were scheduled to be started about the time that COVID rocked our world. Yeah. We put both of those projects on hold to really try to understand what the impact of the pandemic was going to be on both the restaurant and the hotel. And so all I can tell you right now is that those are in our plans. They are definitely something that will be a part of Fountain Place's future, but what they're going to look like will depend a little bit on how the vaccine and the treatment protocols evolve for COVID.
Yeah, right. And I want to ask you about that because I know there have been a lot of really leading technologies that have come into the building to prepare for that. But one thing, when you said Avante restaurant, I just wanted to tell you how appreciative I am, and I know many others, at the care at which you have taken to preserve the fountains. Because I think I remember probably back in 2004 going to a wedding there, and we frequented that restaurant quite a bit. So it's got a lot of love from the community. Jim, you mentioned some of the other owners in the area, and you personally have been a great driver of collaboration. So let's talk a little bit more about that collective vision for the district. And I know particularly the notion of gateways and improving walkability is something near and dear to your heart. So talk a little bit about what you have envisioned and kind of what that collaboration looks like.
Well, I've really found a great partner in Linda Silver at the Perot, who really helped organize the other significant landowners, kind of ranging from that northern part of Field Street, coming into downtown, under Woodall Rogers, and then going up through the Headington property at the intersection of Field and Ross Avenue. And through Linda's help, we've really been able to bring that group of very significant property owners that have really impressive and exciting development plans. And we've tried to create an environment where we can work together as good neighbors so that our developments extend a friendly hand towards each other rather than kind of creating big walls that separate us. And we've really found a very receptive group in those owners. We are working on both long-term and short-term plans to try to improve the walkability and the safety of that corridor, and to try to architecturally announce as you are coming south on Field Street, to announce that you're coming into something special. And we are in the process of hiring an architectural firm and a traffic consultant and a planner to help us work on both those near-term and long-term plans. But working with Dustin, we are also trying to implement some immediate plans to make it a safer, more attractive place to walk. So I think you'll be seeing some things in the next few months in terms of improving the lighting, improving the condition of the sidewalks and the landscaping, and improving the traffic calming opportunities to make it more pleasant to walk down Field Street, under Woodall Rogers, and communicate between the various properties.
Now, I can't imagine that living downtown didn't have something to do with it. You live downtown, right?
Well, I do have a special interest now that it's only increased my interest. Being down there 24/7 makes a real difference. And I've learned things walking around at night that I didn't know just by walking around in the daytime. So I can't tell you how much fun it's been to move into the AMLI Tower. It's just an adventure. I've enjoyed it so much. Nightly I walk my dog, through the neighborhood. I feel safe all the time. Every Saturday, my wife and I walk down to the farmer's market and do shopping. And it's honestly, thanks so much to the hard work you've put in. It feels very safe. And I want to encourage people that the city is coming back to life, even though there are still grave concerns about COVID, and we have to be real careful. As I walk around town, I'm encouraged by all the opportunities there are to eat safely out on the patio, and to walk safely, from my apartment at AMLI all the way down to the farmer's market, and have a great experience doing that.
No, and thank you for saying so. When you and I were on a call earlier this morning, we had a very similar conversation, and I shared my experience staying at the National, opening the Thompson Hotel just last weekend, and being down here in the evening with my 8-year-old twins and family. And we walked all over and went by Fountain Place and AMLI all the way through the Main Street area and up to the farmer's market. And you see those signs of life, so they're great. And, I think that shifts us in gears just a little bit, Jim, but it's part of the point when we're talking about how COVID has impacted downtown and how COVID is impacting our commercial office buildings and the overall environment. What is your experience in terms of the tenants within Fountain Place? And then as you're out really helping us with our business recruitment efforts, what you're hearing, what's important, just how has COVID changed the conversation in the last 8 months?
Well, I think safety is obviously the most important consideration, and I don't think anybody really fully understands what this recent flare-up is going to do. It seemed to me that activity had been increasing. People were comfortable getting out. Tours with prospective tenants had started up again. And my hope and prayer is that this flare-up will be something that we can contain, and that a vaccine will come soon, and that we can get to life in a more normal way by the spring and summer. But I think most people really don't know what it's going to be like, and so they have to be safe. Most of our tenants in Fountain Place are big corporate users, and so there not as many of them back to work as there are in smaller companies. Some of the suburban office buildings that Goddard owns have much higher occupancy rates today than a building like Fountain Place, that the big law firms and big banks have not really come back to heavily populate their office as much as some of the smaller firms have. But we've tried to make it feel safe for anybody that does come back. We've done a lot of things to proactively make the experience comfortable for people coming in, from taking their temperature when guests enter the building, to limiting folks in the elevators to 4 people at a time, to installing MERV 13 filters and changing regularly, to frequent cleaning of our air handling, with infrared, trying to use all the state of the art technology to make it feel as safe a place as we can.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting because I don't think any of us would have been so frequently talking about MERV filters or understanding the real technical aspects of protecting these buildings. And, I've heard more and more lately. Just a year ago, we were talking so much about tenant demands really being driven by HR departments and talent recruitment, retention, breadth of talent in a market. How is my talent going to enjoy the environment, quality of life? Now, a lot more of the conversation, to your point, seems to be turning towards safety. So another, I think, point that you and I spend a lot of time talking about is our marketing and our messaging and how we're talking about Dallas in other markets or downtown specifically. How do you see, or do you see, long-term that conversation and that value proposition changing? Or if you're out and you're talking to a prospective tenant today, give us your elevator pitch.
My elevator pitch on trying to lease up Fountain Place is that we are trying to find several large tenants and hopefully some good medium-sized and smaller firms that will recognize the benefit of aligning their brand with the most recognizable building on the Dallas skyline. Right. You can't go anywhere in the world and meet someone that's been to Dallas, and if you say, my office is in the building that has the top like this, people will immediately recognize the IMPay architecture because it's so famous. And we feel like we will find some folks that see a value in associating their brand with such a recognizable, iconic piece of architecture that's been improved to have all of the state-of-the-art finishes and fixtures and amenities that people are looking for. But I think the biggest challenge we have is getting that word out, not only through our brokerage community, which, the tenant rep brokers are the lifeblood of the real estate business, but we're also trying to equip them and their counterparts in other cities with ways to present our project. And in that line, we just recently finished making a video that tries to show people in a fairly short time the iconic nature of the building and the improvements that we've made to it, hoping that we would get that in the hands of somebody that could see it and could say to themselves, I can see my brand identifying with that project.
Well, and I think we're going to take a look at that video in just a few minutes. So I'd look forward to that. And I think, so much of what Fountain Place represents is representing all of the different elements of where downtown needs to be headed in the future and of our story. So our partnership in that's very, very valuable. Overall in the downtown market, in addition to the building, where do you see some of our greatest strengths and opportunities as we move forward?
I think the greatest strengths for downtown are similar to the great strengths for Texas and for Dallas in particular. I think having a really talented young workforce, having affordable housing, and specifically in the downtown area, all the wonderful housing that through a lot of your hard efforts have been added in the last 20 years. Having a pro-business environment where a company can think about locating here and get help from you and our chamber and our city and our economic development council. So I think having an environment that makes businesses feel welcome and excited, that we're excited for them to come here, is a big difference maker. And I think having an exciting place where young people want to live and work. I think Dallas in general, but specifically downtown, is getting a reputation around the country as being a place that people, when they're getting out of school, want to come and work there. And that's really what big corporations are looking for, is a really talented, great workforce. And I think we have that in Dallas. It's one of our greatest strengths.
Yeah, Absolutely. Absolutely. Now let's talk about challenges, and not just the challenges, but one of the things I think that is so fantastic, and you allude to this about the Dallas community, is that we do lock arms and we face our challenges and we overcome them. So what do you think is our greatest challenge, our challenges right now, and how can we collectively, because so many tuning in today are a part of this community, how can we collectively address them?
Making sure that all citizens of Dallas feel like it's a place for exciting opportunities, not just the most affluent. I think the civil unrest that we had earlier created some fear on people's part. And what I sense is that civil unrest is morphing into in Dallas's normal, let's fix it attitude is morphing into how can we make this better for everybody, so that the rising opportunities is not just for the affluent people, but it's really for everybody in Dallas. And I think the more that we can make it feel inclusive, the better off we all are going to be. I think making our streets in Dallas feel safe and walkable, as you do such a good job on. Clean, walkable, safe streets are critically important for us. And, I think part of that needs to be in the hands of the city. Part of it needs to be in the hands of organizations like Downtown Dallas. But honestly, part of it needs to be in our hands and the people that live and work there to take ownership, so that when we see trash on the streets, we pick it up. When we see a homeless person in trouble, we stop and try and help them. And so I think one of the things that I've always loved about Dallas is it's a we can do it kind of attitude. It's not woe is me about all of our problems. It's let's roll up our sleeves and make it happen. And I sense that Dallas is doing that with the current difficulties that our country's facing, whether it's COVID or civil unrest. And I think you're going to find Dallas is going to be one of the cities that comes out of that stronger than we would have been had we not faced the problems.
Yep, I absolutely could not agree with you more. So the $1 million question is, what is your forecast for the next 6, 12, 24 months and beyond? Market conditions, community development, look into your crystal ball.
Well, I think the next 6 months are going to be kind of a continuation of what I heard someone described as the hammer and the dance. There'll be periods where we move out and dance a while, and then the hammer will come down, and we've got to retreat and be a little bit more protective. And I think it's going to be, it's possible that the winter could be a bumpy period. But I believe that the near and long-term future for our country is strong. But of any place I would want to be in the country, I feel like the future for Dallas is as strong as any place I know. For all the reasons I just talked about, a great workforce, a central country location that has 2 airports that make it really easy to get anywhere once it feels safe to travel, affordable housing, pro-government environment. All of those things will make Dallas great educational institutions. All those things will make Dallas a great place to grow in the next 2 to 5 years. So I'm very bullish on our future, both near and long term, but I do think it's going to be bumpy until we get the vaccine and treatment protocols for COVID, where people can get out and about and resume their lives.
Right, right. Well, I'm going to take a good portion of that and use that video for quite some time. So we agree with you, Jim. So let's come back to that video that you mentioned. I know there's some setup here, so tell us a little bit about what we're going to see.
Well, our goal in the video was to try to show what an elegant, exciting, energized environment that Fountain Place is. But our tagline for both AMLI and for Fountain Place is work in art and live in art. And as we brainstormed about how to portray that, I thought about a good friend of mine who is a singer-songwriter. His name is Tom Douglas. He actually has some experience in Dallas in the real estate business. But I thought, who better to narrate our video about working in art and living in art than an artist that is such an elegant and wonderful songwriter. And so that's the video that we want to share. Our goal is to put it in the hands of all of our broker friends here in Dallas, but also get it out to companies in cities around the country that might be thinking to come to Texas, and hopefully use it as a way to encourage people to think about Fountain Place.
Well, let's take a look at that video. And then Jim, I think you've got a personal story to tell about Tom too. So maybe after that broadcast, we can come back to that before we close it out.
That sounds great.
Okay, great.
In the Big D, at the metaphorical intersection of art and commerce, you will find an iconic beacon of modernism. Fountain Place, 60 stories forged by the hands of architectural gods. I.M. Cobb, and Kiley, three of the greatest to ever shape our landscape. A collaboration of epic proportion. A laser-cut diamond piercing the Dallas skyline. A rocket ship with its shape-shifting facets from every perspective. The most recognized building on the Dallas skyline. It is where art meets function. It can be your new home. Where steel and glass meet water and wood, Kiley said, you will walk on water. And that's exactly what you do. 6 urban acres of a forested lagoon, a tranquil oasis from an urban life. Take a break in the shade of the trees, reset among the dark pools of water and the hundreds of fountains. You are transported away from the breakneck life to a peaceful float through the dark waters of the bayou. A landscape within a landscape. Art like this can't be improved, but it can be honored, maintained, and restored. You must be a steward. The artist wanted nature to be one with structure, an open lobby under a canopy of trees with a multi-million-dollar renovation, their vision finally complete. Art on loan from the Nasher Museum fills the halls of this masterpiece. The fountains have been restored. Glass railings instead of a wall invite the city of Dallas to enjoy its treasure. Food purveyors delight with open-air dining and water views, and a new luxury residential tower, a 48-story sibling paying tribute to Pei's design. It's taken 40 years, but now the Fountain Place canvas is complete. At the intersection of art and commerce, we invite you to work, meet, and live in art.
Jim, that is such a great video. I can't wait. You're going to share that with me, right?
Yes, for sure.
Now, tell us, you've got a funny story about Tom, so tell us a little bit more about Tom.
Well, Tommy and I grew up together. We were best friends from elementary, really from 4 or 5 years old, all the way through high school and college. And after we both graduated from college, Tommy moved to Nashville. We had played in a band together all through high school and college, and he wanted to try and make it in the music industry. And he had some limited success there, but when he was turning 30, I got a phone call from him. I had been in the real estate business. I'd actually just finished the Sherry Lane building, and I'd moved into that. And Tommy called and said, I found a girl. I want to get married. I need to get a real job. If you can make it in the real estate business in Dallas, anybody can. So how about helping me get a job in Dallas? So I called my buddy Hank Dickerson, who had one of the greatest brokerage firms at the time in Dallas. And I said, Hank, can you give my friend Tommy a job? He doesn't know anything about real estate, but he's the best guy I know in the world. So Tommy came to Dallas and got here about the time the markets were crashing in the mid to late 80s, and worked his heart out trying to be a successful real estate broker, but never gave up his passion. He found a piano at SMU. He'd go work in the real estate business every day and try to come home at night and write songs. Every vacation, he'd go to Nashville and try to sell his songs. And at 41 years old, he sold his first song. Colin Ray recorded it. It was a song called Little Rock, and it won Song of the Year that year. That was when he was 41 years old. He's now 67 years old. He's been nominated for 4 Grammys and won Song of the Year numerous times. Songs like The House That Built Me that Martina McBride recorded, and I Run to You that Lady Antebellum did. So he's had huge success now, and not unlike Fountain Place that had an earlier career, you know, and then a resurgence like Tommy had. We're hoping to have the kind of success in reintroducing Fountain Place the way Tommy had when he started selling his songs and having number 1 hits.
That is, I love that story. We're going to have to talk offline about my family's history in the music business, because
I can't wait to hear.
A lot of that resonates. And it's very indicative of these properties and the journey that we have in downtown and bringing in new life. Jim, thank you so much for your time this morning. I know all of the folks who are joining us have truly enjoyed it, and we appreciate your words and your inspiration. So thank you for being such an integral part of this community.
Kourtny, I'm a big supporter of you and what you do. You do a great job for our downtown, and it was a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. So to all of our viewers, be sure and watch your email. We have more events coming before the end of the year, so there are some announcements to come. And if you're interested in getting more involved with Downtown Dallas Inc. or downtown, please do look at membership information on our website or reach out. To become an integral part of this community, becoming a member really allows you to do that, so you can be a part of these forums as well as a number of committees and task forces that we have that all work for the betterment of downtown Dallas. You can sign up for our emails that send out important business information, as well as all of the great new places to eat and shop and stay. Those can be signed up for at our website, downtowndallas.com, and be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels. The State of Downtown report, which is our market report, that's put together in a custom way by our economic development team, is always available on our website. We're updating that every other month with important downtown information. And again, I would like to thank MarketScale for being a great partner in this series and bringing this vital information to all of you, our downtown community. So thanks so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you back here soon.